Hello there, my lovelies. How's it going? Welcome back to my channel, Boomy Reactions. For those of you who are new, my name is Boomy, and thank you for watching. So today, guys, we've got a somewhat sciencey, military-based video that I'm going to share with you today. So this video has been requested by one of my lovely patrons. This is from Arctic Tron. Now, Arctic Tron, you say, "Hey, Boomy, I've got a video from Real Engineering for you to watch." The name of the channel basically explains what their channel is about, but don't get scared of maybe not understanding some of the bits of engineering that is in these videos. Arctic Tron, I will try my absolute best. Some of it might go a little bit over my head, but I will try and keep up to speed as best as I absolutely can. I don't pretend to be knowledgeable on engineering or anything of the sort, but I'll definitely try and keep up to speed. So this is the first video I want to introduce to you. It's the channel's most popular video, and this is the insane engineering of the A-10 Warthog, the premier ground attack aircraft of the US military. Oh, okie dokie. So I've recently heard of this aircraft. So with the conflict going on in the Middle East with Iran at the moment, they have deployed these A-10 Warthogs, haven't they? Admittedly, I don't know an awful lot about them. I get the impression that they're quite a big deal. Like they're quite a bit of a tank, like a powerful aircraft. So what is it specifically that makes them so feared, like, you know, by the opposition and such? I'm not really sure. So hopefully this video will explain all we need to know. So Arctic Tron, you also say the insane engineering of insert topic here is the primary thing that this channel does. Okay, so this is like their kind of style of videos. So it shows you a piece of technology that's cool or interesting. Yes, and it breaks down why it's cool via engineering, even though you hadn't have maybe thought that it was cool to begin with. Awesome. Okay. Let's crack on with the video then, guys. Like I say, I've heard of these more recently, but I'm not too sure what it is about them that makes them like the powerhouse that I'm assuming that they are. So let's crack on with the video. I've already done enough chattering. You know what I'm like. And guys, as ever, if you're enjoying these reactions, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel, my lovelies. Thank you so much. If you're interested, I have a Buy Me Coffee account. That link is over here. And if you would like to help support my channel any further, I have a Patreon account. And if you fancy checking that out at all, that link is in the description below. Right, come on then. Educate me.
The Fairchild Republic A-10 Lightning Bolt, or simply the Hog, is one of the most iconic planes in the US Air Force. A plane developed in the middle of the Cold War with a specific type of warfare in mind.
Am I right in thinking that this was also used in Iraq? I remember maybe reading that it was deployed in Iraq as well, wasn't it? Am I right in thinking? Again, guys, you have to bear with me because I'm a little bit not up to speed with this kind of thing. They're used to, I don't know, like they destroy like armored vehicles. They were like particularly like good for utilizing for that purpose. And what was it? I heard them described as like the savior of troops on the ground. So I'm assuming that they offer a lot of support for like soldiers and troops on fighting on the ground. Is that right? I'm blabbing at this point.
If the Cold War turned hot, one area was destined to become a battleground. A 50-kilometer corridor of lowland valleys called the Fulda Gap, where any invading troops would be channeled on their march from East Germany to West Germany. It was the shortest route to France, Frankfurt, and the strategically important Rhine River. If war broke out, this corridor would be a vital region to secure, and each side of the Fulda Gap was defended by armoured divisions. To cope with this threat environment, the US developed an operational doctrine called air-land battle, and the A-10 was developed as a vital component of this strategy. A low-flying tank killer, which would work closely with the troops on the ground to break up enemy formations at the front, while high-flying bombers harassed the supply lines at the rear. The A-10 was a plane designed specifically for the role of close air support.
Does it have the like it has like a very powerful kind of artillery weapon, like a gun or something, like in the nose of the plane? Is that right? You can tell I don't know a lot about these kind of things at all. Now, I did hear recently, this has rung a bell. Are they being retired, these planes? Does that ring a bell? Have I made that up maybe? And they're going to be replaced with something else. Why? Are they, if they're so kind of revered, you know, and the savior of the ground troops, why are they being, you know, swapped for something else? And what are they being swapped for? I'm not really sure.
Close air support is exactly that, close. Close to friendly forces and close to unfriendly forces. It requires a plane to be capable of absorbing a great deal of damage as they come under fire and to be incredibly accurate with its weapons to avoid friendly fire.
This rings a bell as well. Is it quite, am I right in thinking that these are quite the powerhouse? They're quite, I don't know, are they armored? They're pretty difficult to take out. Again, these are just things I think I've heard over the years, or they just kind of ring a bell. Now I'm starting to question if I've actually just dreamt them or made them up. But yeah, am I right in thinking that these are like relatively hard to take out?
A plane with this role needs some unique qualities. It needs to be available at a moment's notice. In an ever-evolving battlefield, troops could need support without warning, and because of this, the plane needs to be nearby and ready to go. This means working from forward bases that may not necessarily have all the infrastructure and equipment that other planes need to operate. Its survivability needs to be best in class. Flying this close to the ground is going to result in every man with a weapon taking potshots at the plane.
Oh my gosh,
As a result, the plane needs to be capable of dealing with small arms, machine guns, anti-aircraft guns, and even missiles.
How's its maneuverability? Is it quite a fast little nippy plane that can like outmaneuver people taking shot and firing at it, or, you know?
A-10s frequently limp back to their base with damage so severe that they would have downed another plane, with parts of their wings ripped off, with an engine taken out and hydraulics unoperational. And coming with this, the plane needs to be simple and cheap to manufacture. The Air Force made it clear from the beginning, in a battle of cost versus performance, cost would be prioritized. In an all-out war with the Soviets, quantity and ease of manufacturing was going to be a huge factor. Like the Sherman and the T-34 tanks, which were so influential in World War II, a future war between the Soviets and the US was expected to be won by whoever could out-manufacture and maintain their equipment. This plane was intended to be a cheap and rugged workhorse. It needed to be made with readily available off-the-shelf parts, so maintenance crews could easily interchange parts to repair damage quickly and at a low cost.
So they're easy and relatively cheap to manufacture and to maintain. And relatively, I imagine, quite, you know, they can be manufactured relatively quickly. Okay. But, and they combine that with being, the powerhouse that I did think they might be. So they can take an awful lot of damage before they're completely unusable. It sounds like a win-win. Again, this brings me back to the question of, I'm sure I've heard them say that they're retiring, the American Air Force is thinking about retiring them, or, you know, using other aircraft. Why? Because it kind of sounds like they're perfect at this point. So what would they be replaced with? Why are they being replaced?
Contractors bidding for the manufacturing contract needed to consider all of these factors and design the entire plane around the primary armament, which was chosen before the design process started, the General Electric GAU-8A, a gun whose sound is so recognizable it has become a meme.
Now I'm just going to go back there because I've just seen, the Fairchild Republic A-10 Thunderbolt. Why is it called a Warthog? That's the name of the aircraft? It is, isn't it? That we're talking about the same aircraft as this one. Why is it called a Warthog? Is that like an affectionate little nickname? Where's that nickname from?
The gun takes up a significant portion of the plane's internal volume at nearly 6 meters long, fitting snugly below the pilot. The largest part of the gun is the ammo drum, which typically holds 1,150 30mm rounds. The rounds are delivered to the 7 rotating barrels along a linkless chute system,
Yeah, it's in
which
the
also
nose.
pulls the shell casings back into the ammo drum
Yeah.
after firing to prevent the expended shells from damaging the plane. The belt system and the rotating cam firing system of the barrels are both driven by a hydraulic motor, which is powered by 2 independent hydraulic systems on board. There are 2 separate hydraulic systems to ensure redundancy in operation, and both run the gun. The left and right hydraulic systems are pressurized by 2 identical engine-driven pumps on the left and right engine. If an engine is lost or one of the hydraulic lines is broken, then the controls powered by those hydraulics cease to work. However, the plane has been designed to allow it to continue flying on only one hydraulic system, as both elevators, both ailerons, and one rudder have hydraulic power after loss of either hydraulic lines.
Hence the increased survivability of the plane. Okay.
Ensuring powered control of pitch, roll, and yaw even after the loss of a single hydraulic system. If both are lost, the plane can switch to a manual reversion flight control system where the controls can be operated without power assist, which is difficult to say the least, but it can allow the pilot to land the plane safely, or at the very least, allow them to get into safe airspace to eject.
Okay.
This kind of redundancy can be found in every component of the A-10 to increase survivability.
Now, if like I did think earlier that these are quite the durable aircraft, how many, because they mentioned earlier the damage that some of these planes return back to the base with, they would have completely annihilated other aircraft. So weird question, how many of these have been taken out over the years if they're so durable and the survivability is so, so much more than other aircraft? How, just out of interest, how many have actually been taken out over the years? I absolutely love the little face they've got at the front of the plane there. I love it. Little illustration there.
The landing gear is retracted by the left system only, but it can be extended by both, and in the event neither system is available, the wing-mounted landing gear doesn't actually retract all the way into the fairings, which allows the plane to land with landing gear retracted with only moderate damage to the plane. Protecting the control mechanisms through redundancy is just one component of increasing survivability. The fuel tanks are self-sealing on the lower portions and are filled with foam to prevent explosions. The A-10, like all planes, can fly with significant armor covering every portion of the plane, so they just protect the most vital component on the plane, the stick operator, otherwise known as the pilot, who sits inside a titanium tub which is reported to be capable of absorbing direct hits from armor-piercing rounds up to 23mm.
Whoa, okay, so you're pretty safe inside one of these. Okay. Heavily armored. What's the maneuverability like? I know I said that earlier. Are they quite nippy little things, or are they quite slow?
The canopy is also made from ballistic glass, capable of taking hits from small arms. But this isn't the type of plane to be flying upside down over the battlefield. This is more for shrapnel from anti-aircraft fire and missiles. The A-10 also carries more chaff and flares than any US Air Force legacy fighter. Chaff is radar reflective material which confuses radar-controlled missiles, while flares confuse heat-seeking missiles. With 4 dispensers located in the landing gear pods and another 4 on the outer wingtips, for a total of 16 across both wings, which can be triggered automatically by radar and laser detection systems on the nose and wingtips of the plane, or simply fired manually by the pilot.
I'm starting to understand why it's kind of known. I think I've heard it described as like the savior of ground forces and ground troops. I get it now. Okay.
One of the most striking features of the A-10 is its strange engine placement and tail configuration. And this too was a design feature to thwart enemies with heat-seeking missiles. The engines and tail were arranged like this to mask the infrared signature of the hot exhaust of the plane, which could be used to lock onto the plane by IR missiles on the ground. The tail would look more at home on a World War II bomber, which were designed to be stable. Stability was an important part of the A-10's design. The large vertical stabilizers help keep the plane on target as it fires its insanely powerful gun. The gun is mounted directly on the center line of the plane to minimize the effect of the recoil pushing the plane off target. The recoil force at 44.5 kilonewtons is so powerful that it effectively halves the plane's forward thrust, as each of the A-10's General Electric T-34 engines produces just 41 kilonewtons of thrust, but the plane fires in such short bursts, typically 1 to 2 seconds, that the pilot doesn't need to worry about stalling. The height.
We're getting into the realm of going. It's trying to see the expression of my eyes, like the lights are on but no one's home. I'm staying with it. I'm trying to stay with it.
The engines mounted behind the wings also reduce the amount of dirt and dust that can enter the engines from forward operating base runways, which can be just dirt runways. A lot of design choices were made to allow the plane to operate from remote airfields like this. Smaller military planes like this don't typically have auxiliary power units, which are small secondary engines that large planes like airliners have. You can see the exhaust of these little hidden engines in the tails of airliners. These engines allow the plane to start its main engines without external help and help run functions like electricity generation and hydraulic fluid pumps.
So they're quite relatively straightforward to get into the air as quick as possible without having like a massive maintenance crew and taking a lot of time to get them into the air and up and going. Okay. This plane sounds like quite the all-rounder, doesn't it? I haven't heard any disadvantages to this plane yet. There's got to be some. Again, I know I keep saying it, but there's got to be a reason why are they replacing it with something else? So maybe there's something less favourable about this plane going on with it as well.
But it's unnecessary weight for most small aircraft, and they usually use some other way to get the engine spinning. Sometimes this results in the plane relying on ground equipment, which the A-10 cannot depend on. And so an APU was installed between the two podded engines. You can see the exhaust of the APU just underneath the nacelles here. Some of the most interesting design challenges arose from the sheer power of the aircraft's gun. The gun spits out so much burnt and unburnt propellant that they actually lost an early model in 1978 after exhaust gas from the gun ignited and starved the engines of oxygen. To deal with this, some design changes were made. First, a small gas scoop was placed underneath the barrels to suck in some of that exhaust. The chemical mixture of the round propellant was changed to increase the flash suppressant levels. This in turn caused secondary problems, as the new chemical mixture caused residue to build up on the cockpit windows and a canopy washer was needed, which simply sprayed the washing fluid onto the canopy and the slipstream did the rest of the work. Circuitry was also added to force the engine ignition system to continually fire while the gun trigger was being pulled, so that in the event a flameout occurred, the engine could rekindle its flame immediately. The GAU-8 Avenger is a monstrous machine designed to wreak havoc on those Soviet tanks attempting to push through Allied lines. To do this, they need heavy armor-piercing rounds. The rounds are truly massive at 30mm, and sprinkled throughout these rounds are rounds made of aluminium with a depleted uranium core. Uranium is insanely dense at 19.1 grams per centimeter cubed. Lead, in comparison, is 11.3 grams per centimeter cubed, and iron is 7.9. This density gives the round more kinetic energy for armor piercing. The depleted uranium also ablates material in a way that self-sharpens the projectile, while tungsten, which is slightly denser than uranium, tends to mushroom out and dulls itself upon impact. There is currently 700,000 metric tons of depleted uranium stored as uranium hexafluoride in huge storage cylinders across America, costing uranium enrichment facilities a great amount in maintenance. They are simply delighted when someone gets it off their hands and fires it at high speed into a country thousands of miles away.
Oh my gosh, yeah, no, if you can utilize like a waste, is it the waste product? Yeah, the uranium here, if you can repurpose that and utilize it into ammunition, that's a bit of a no-brainer. And it's self-sharpening. Oh wow.
It's a cheap and freely available resource and has the perfect material properties for armor piercing. But the efficacy of using depleted uranium is obviously not good. Many war-torn regions have blamed its use for elevated cases of cancer. The A-10 has been under constant threat of retirement. Detractors have pushed from the very start that the plane is not needed. First, it was the F-16 which should take over its job, and now it's the F-35. And both sides...
Oh, so I didn't... I didn't completely make that up. They are thinking of retiring the Warthogs. But, okay, I need to pay attention now because they're going to explain why. So they don't feel that they're as needed. Why? It kind of sounds like we've just spent the last 15 minutes hearing about how amazing these aircrafts are.
Sides of the argument have valid points. The F-16 and A-10 can carry similar amounts of ordnance into the battlefield if needed. Both have 11 hardpoints with a carrying capacity over 7.2 tons, but attaching heavy equipment to its wings negates the biggest advantage of the F-16, its maneuverability and ability to conserve kinetic energy in dogfights. The F-16 was designed to be a multi-role fighter, while the A-10 was designed for one job and one job only, getting down and dirty and taking some punches like Rocky. While modern planes like the F-35 were designed to be more like Muhammad Ali, bobbing, weaving, elusive, striking and moving out of the enemy's range before they can react. The two planes were designed in completely different eras with completely different military doctrine in mind, and trying to compare the two without acknowledging that is silly.
Yeah,
the
like
F-35 is designed to carry a small payload of weapons in its internal weapons bay, while stealth is a high priority. But it can carry just as much as the F-16 when air superiority is established. It's a multi-role fighter designed for the modern battlefield. Ultimately, the A-10 found a role in wars like Iraq and Afghanistan, where the threat level and sophistication of enemy weaponry was relatively low, like the battles expected in the Fulda Gap in the 1980s. The A-10 persists today because it excels in its role as a close air support vehicle, and its low cost of running compared to other military planes has kept it competitive, allowing it to be in the vanguard for military operations today. A plane the infantry can see coming over the horizon, like Gandalf arriving into Helm's Deep to lift the siege.
A-10 saving the day again, baby.
Yeah, they love it. See? It is the savior of the ground forces. That analogy there, I love that. Yes, Gandalf arriving at Helm's Deep. They didn't show it though. I thought we were going to get a cute cutscene from Lord of the Rings.
Become an iconic aircraft among the soldiers on the ground. A bond has formed between it and the infantry it protects. But just as the A-10 was created in preparation for an anticipated next-generation war, the F-35 was created with future wars in mind, where the threat environment will be so dense that simply being able to take a punch won't save it. The nature of close air support has continually evolved over the past century. In World War II, tactical air forces were created specifically for providing close air support to the troops landing in Normandy on D-Day. Range for these fighters was a major tactical issue, and within 24 hours of the first men landing in Normandy, 3 new emergency landing strips had been created off the beaches, which would allow the Allies to extend their fighter-bomber range and prevent a fierce counterattack by the Germans from overwhelming the small toehold the Allies managed to carve out in Normandy. I explored these vital logistical challenges in a future episode of The Logistics of D-Day that will be out next month. These airfields were primarily built to extend the reach of Allied aerial support as ground troops push forward. However, as the front line progressed, many were converted to supply depots, emergency evacuation posts, and heavy bomber airfields. Others were simply abandoned and allowed to return to farmland over time. There are hidden traces of these remains littered all over.
Right, okay. Oh, okay, right. There we have it. Okay, so I didn't make up or imagine that there was talk of retiring. It's probably progressed a lot from talk, but you know, that's how I hear things. That they were retiring these the Warthogs. Okay. It's good to know I didn't completely imagine and entire like article about something in my head. So yeah, their function and the design has just been kind of outdone by a more effective plane that's coming in, and I want to say keeping up with the times, but I feel like that's kind of taking away from how beloved these A-10 Warthogs are. So they seem to have like this really nice, this sweet kind of relationship with the troops on the ground. And why not? Because if it's coming to their aid, it's such a welcome sight at desperate times. I can understand why that relationship's there and why it is so beloved. But yeah, wars change, don't they? With the ages, technology and and different natures of different wars. So I'm assuming I didn't get the name of the planes that are going to be replacing it. Planes, aircrafts. But yeah, I suppose it's just kind of functionality, isn't it? Well, at first, they sounded absolutely perfect. And I suppose their design was perfect for what they were needed to do. And they sound like an absolute powerhouse. And I love the design of the noses. Get the little teeth. It looks like a shark. Now, I'm going to ask it again, though, guys. Why on earth are they called warthogs? Like, that doesn't look like there's anything warthog about them. I'm assuming it's an affectionate nickname, but where does it come from? I'm slightly confused. Let me know in the comments, guys. Let me know. Anyway, guys, I hope you learned something. I absolutely did. I did try Arctictron. I did try and keep as up to speed as I possibly could. I think I did an okay job. Only a little bit of it went over my head, a little bit. So yes, guys, I hope you enjoyed watching along with me. Take care of yourselves, my lovelies, and I will see you on the next video. Bye-bye.